Yeah, I had to get the Dominican vibes going for Jenny. So Jenny Mota is like one of my most accomplished friends. Like we're constantly putting each other in check of like holding each other accountable for like, did we accomplish our goals today? How's it been going this week? And we've been like this for like the last 2 years. Thank you, Ian. My vibes immaculate, so are yours. So me and Jenny have been doing this ever since we've met each other. Like, I don't know, the vibes were very instantaneous of just like realizing that we were two women like in high positions of where we saw ourselves in power and what we wanted to accomplish in life. And so I didn't even know, she didn't even know, she'll tell you her story, but we didn't know about the ADHD component of our relationship until like the last month or so. And so yeah, she has blown my mind with her information on what she's taught me, what she's learned herself about being a person with ADHD, being a woman with ADHD, because that shit hit different. They think that it's like, for some reason, kids, like guys, get diagnosed way more. I don't know where this girl is right now. So, Gata, hit our girl up, because I'm not trying to get off this live just yet. But yeah, guys, if you have any questions, has anyone in the comments, do you guys deal with ADHD yourselves? If any questions you want us to answer, we got you, because we're going to be covering a lot of subjects within the overall subject of ADHD. So, déjame saber if you have anything you want to talk about. Yeah, my ADHD journey is definitely one I've dealt with my whole life unknowingly. So, shit is real out in these streets, you know what I mean? Hey, Dilian. Hey, Piero. Yeah, it impacts you a lot. How has it been impacting you, Sunward? You can feel free to join this live while we wait for Jenny to come in. I don't know if anyone has official ADHD. Like, I don't know what that even means. Like, yeah, we're all fucking crazy, right? Like, if you're not crazy, you're even living life. Are you even living in your authentic truth? But what makes you think that you have ADHD? Because I was officially diagnosed, but like many years later. Okay, Jennifer Mota has joined the chat. Yeah, I agree. I think anyone creative like probably has some I think ADHD, like everything in life's a spectrum. I don't think anything in this world is black and white. And so like, you know, we're all on a spectrum of ADHD. Some people just like a little bit, you know, other people are fucking crazy. By the way, let me tell you guys, so as I said, Jennifer is an amazing journalist. This bitch, hi beautiful.
Hey loca.
Did you hear me play Chimbala?
Yes, I was like, okay girl, you lit.
Yeah, because I've been introducing everybody with a different song every time. So I'm like, what am I gonna do for her? First I was like, maybe some Philly, and I'm like, Philly? And no, we gotta bring it all the way back.
Okay. How are you? You look, let me see your lips.
You know, I wanted to do some crazy eye shit, but we did not have the time. So the reason why we're late today, which is very typical of ADHD, is losing stuff. I don't know where. I locked myself out of my house, my keys. Like, I thought I brought them with me. I still don't even know where they are because I had to, like, bang open my door to get inside just now. So, yeah, that's the ticket.
But we're here.
I love this.
You made it inside your house.
I made it inside my house. We here. We're good. I love this little doc you made. You're such a journalist. Like, I'm interviewing the interviewer. So she was like, let me just make a little spreadsheet.
You know what? It's just, I'm not going to lie, y'all. I have my laptop because part of having ADHD is not being able to, like, organize our thoughts and, like, the way we process our conversations. So something I've learned as a journalist is to always make sure to at least have an outline or, like, at least like have my thoughts written down, because I'll get so passionate in a conversation and I'll forget so many good points that I wanted to make. So it's just, it happens like naturally, like we get so passionate and just forget so many good points. So I was just like, all right, girl, we need to make sure that we hit the notes, because people that have this condition are looking up to us and they want to hear.
I feel you. Are you gonna read this out loud? Because I love it. I want to read it if you weren't planning on reading it.
Wait, the first screenshot?
Like we're enthusiastic.
Oh! Girl, you do it. It's your show.
Okay, so this is the little doc that Jenny created for of her. Okay,
Girl,
so
calling me out.
it's amazing. Like, no one's ever done this, obviously, because I've never had a journalist on this show before. So, you know, this is how we go. But so the positive aspects of having ADHD is that we're enthusiastic, we're risk takers, resilient, we're fucking funny. I will definitely give us that. We are funny. We're generous, creative. Someone actually said in the comments that like all creatives have this, and I completely agree. I feel like in order to be creative, you need to be like with your mind in a million
I've
different.
met so many creatives ever since I've been public about it. Like so many people that are like creative risk takers, people that own their own platforms, people that do multiple things, and like I'm just like, yo, it's so crazy how like sometimes I think it's like, wow, like so many people have it, but in reality, I'm in an industry around so many creatives that end up having the condition. Yeah.
But you know, I mean, maybe I'm gonna get a little crazy right now. Something I'm just thinking of. Do you think that maybe because like our generation was so vaccinated, like maybe that was another thing that happened from, because people say like autism's from vaccines, right? Maybe ADHD could be something that came from vaccines.
So actually, I can't remember. There's multiple studies and multiple conversations on this. Like, in reality, ADHD is seen as like a disability under the capitalist and technological structures that we're in now.
Right.
In reality, when you think of like back in the day in the Neanderthals, you know, you had your gatherers and you had your hunters. Like, people think that the people that were the hunters like had ADHD. Like, this is actually something that like, you know, people had good instincts. Like, we were fast to think in certain like in times of pressure and stuff like that. So I don't know, because people mention vaccinations, but there's also historical accounts of like, I don't have it in the top of my head right now, but of like different people like throughout history who have had it, because this condition has had different names throughout the centuries. Like,
but it wasn't considered a negative until the capitalist society, is what you're saying?
No, I think that it's seen more as a disability, because when you think of the type of structure that we're in and the systemic structure that we're in, like, you know, we have to be in a 9 to 5 most of the time, right? We have to work at a certain pace. It's a lot of high demanding stuff. So I feel like it seems more like a disability under these structures, but I do think that it's a condition that we have, you know, and it's our responsibility to treat it and to understand like how to navigate this space. And that's something that I'm learning more about. Also, I just got diagnosed a few months ago. Like, this is something that I'm still learning about. I've been researching so much about it more because I realized how it really like messed up so much of my health, specifically my mental health. You know, I developed like severe anxiety and depression. I wasn't treated or diagnosed at 12 like a lot of people I know. Like, I was diagnosed at 27, 28, 28.
Yeah, I was diagnosed at like 26. Yeah.
So it's like you start masking symptoms because of either societal pressures, or you don't want to be seen as somebody who's like quote unquote slow, lazy, spacey, or flaky, or whatever, you know, all these things. And in masking all these symptoms, we start really like creating like really, really bad habits. And I developed like extremely bad anxiety. I would get panic attacks all the time. And in like trying to learn more and like just trying to get help, that's when like this whole space of like ADHD had come about, you know, like getting diagnosed and the assessments and stuff. And it's crazy because I had the thought of having it a few times throughout my life, but it was always like, because I thought so much about the stigmas and the stereotype that people have. Like the stereotype is like, oh, it's a 7-year-old white kid like bouncing from
Running
wall to
crazy.
wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I was just like, but I'm not like that. So yeah, I don't even know where I was going with this.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of think it was a blessing, because I also wasn't diagnosed until I was like, yo, I've been taking Adderall, like, you know, getting it on the streets or whatever, on and off since I was like 20, 21 years old. And I remember my senior year of college, like I taught myself Premiere on Adderall. I wrote my first scripts on Adderall. I taught myself Photoshop on Adderall. Like my senior year of college, when all my friends were like partying, day drinking, whatever, I would literally be in the library, like teaching myself different programs, right? And I remember like up until like honestly like a year ago, maybe this year, I realized that I want to be able to not rely on Adderall to have like a workflow, because I really have I used to joke around that I was gonna thank Adderall in my Oscar acceptance speech, because like Adderall really like fixed me up so much. But there's a part of me that's like feels blessed that I wasn't diagnosed until I was 26 years old, because so basically like, I was buying Adderall and then I was like, you know what, I need a prescription. And once I got my script for Adderall at 26 years old, when I was just telling this guy my truth, and he was like, oh yeah, you need 60 milligrams a day, you need to be taking 30 milligrams twice a day. I'm like, yo, that's a little over medicating, but okay. But still, like once I got diagnosed Adderall and I was able to start having Adderall whenever I wanted it, it's actually when I realized, hey, I don't want to have this pill dependency anymore. And so like two things we could discuss from here. One is that obviously we both come from immigrants, and I think that immigrant parents are like less likely to believe in mental disabilities, or like they don't want to think that their child has a mental disability, which is like why I personally wasn't diagnosed, I think, because I think a lot of teachers told my parents, hey, she would benefit from time and a half, like she's really smart but she's slow, basically, you know. And my parents were like, oh, no, we're not going to give our kid this, right? But like there's that other aspect of like when you've been taking Adderall since you were 12 years old, 15 years old, I feel like I don't know how healthy that is either. So we can talk about immigrant parents, and also like
something that I think people kind of miss out on, and it's just like people fail to look at ADHD in a spectrum the same way autism is. Like not everyone that before you got in here. Yeah, not everyone that has it needs to take medicine. Some people don't need to, but there are some people that their impairments can become deadly. Like people who can literally get into car accidents because their inattentiveness is so bad.
Really?
Yeah. So it's like, I think we focus so much on looking at it as like, oh, it's a one size fits all, and it's not like that. Also, something you mentioned about like your doctor prescribing so like such a high dosage right away, like I think we have to also talk about how it's so important to like advocate for ourselves. Like I knew that when I was first getting medicated, like they were trying to put me on Zoloft, like for my anxiety. And it was just like, realistically, my anxiety, my depression, everything is, I want to cure the root. The root is that all of these symptoms are manifesting more because I can't focus, I can't organize my thoughts, I can't work appropriately. So my world is literally shattering around me. So I need something that's gonna help me cope throughout the day. And I know people and like parents who literally had to stand up for their kids because it's just like, okay, my kid is looking zombie, like we need to microdose or we need to get lower dosage. But a lot of parents don't do that. They just kind of like give it to God or whatever and let it work or something. But I think it's really important to advocate and really understand like where your child or where you lie on in the spectrum and like what works for you. And I think it's important to note that because I've had this conversation so many times these past few days, because it's really hard to talk about pills, you know, especially with the side effects. But people don't talk about the side effects of like the untreated ADHD. And it's just like, you know, people talk about like, oh, you know, you could get heart problems. You can get heart problems from untreated ADHD as well. So it's like it's a conversation that you need to have.
Really? I didn't know that. Get heart problems.
Yeah, because you start developing chronic and severe anxiety, depression, stress. These are all things that lead to like major health problems. So regardless, a lot of these a lot of these symptoms or side effects, you're going to see it either or, and it really depends on the person. And it's honestly having a conversation, an honest conversation, and an honest outlook on where you want your life to be. How do you want to navigate life? And I think it's a personal choice too.
So yeah, so someone asked what pill it is. I've been taking Adderall, but like Vyvanse, Ritalin. I don't know what else. There's a few other ones, but someone also asked how it affects my heart. So that's like why I pretty much am a little scared of like continuously taking it, is because I have noticed like my heart beats going a little irregular. Like I did get a panic attack from Adderall like 2 weeks ago, and like I literally thought I was gonna fucking die. And so I feel like Adderall, it sucks because I really am in this crossroads in my life right now where it's like sometimes I just feel like I need to take it if I have a lot of work. I need to take Adderall today, but then it's like there is this dependency, because it's like, okay, but what if I just forced myself? Like, do you think that there's a fine line where we could just force ourselves to, like, instead of depending on a pill, depend on ourselves to do it?
Well, it's like, it's just the words we use sometimes. So it's like, first of all, like, okay, do you use it like every single day?
No, I would say, like, let's say I get like a big workload, and okay, I would take it like maybe the most I would take it in a row would be like four days in a row or something. 5 days, okay, maybe 5 days in a row.
And are you
maybe
still on the 60?
Oh, no. Okay. So I didn't get my script refilled because I have to get my heart rate checked. And my heart rate, the one day that I checked it, maybe it's because I drank coffee that morning, my heart rate wasn't safe to continue taking Adderall. And that shit scared me. And I think maybe it was because I drank coffee, whatever. But yeah, so I was like, you know what? I don't want to fuck with this. So now I've just been like taking 10s and 15s that I get randomly. I've been back to the black market.
Yeah. So
I don't want to have it on me as much.
I really don't know, like, the kind of impairments you have. Like, I know that at least for all of us, the one thing we do have in common is the executive dysfunction. But it's
what does that mean?
Executive I messed up the word. Executive dysfunction literally is like what helps us analyze, organize, plan, take initiative. So, you know, a neurotypical brain, which is what's considered like an average brain, they don't have an executive dysfunction. They have an executive function system. Like they are able to sometimes multitask. They are able to start a task and finish on time and not get distracted. Whereas people with ADHD, like, we're very sensitive to senses. Like, for example, like sensory, like there could be a ticking on one side, and that small ticking can literally distract us really bad, or like not being able to like process information that's given to us right away. So again, it's all like in a spectrum. Some people can have it really, really bad, and some people can have like a more mild case of these symptoms. To me, the way that I see it, I don't take it on the weekends, and I'll take it like every other day during the week. But I'm a freelancer, so it goes with my lifestyle. Exactly. I think that it is possible to create a fine line. You have to learn these systems or create a system that works for you. But also, it's also learning to look at it as like, you know, a diabetic needs insulin, or like if you are like legally blind, or you don't have great eyesight, you wear glasses or you wear contacts. It's something that helps like assist you in being able to navigate life, right? And it's like Adderall, it helps you, right? Like it helps you, but you still have to have the motivation to work. Like if you don't push yourself to work, you're not gonna do it. Because if you're on it and you just want to be online shopping, that's what you're gonna do. That's what the Adderall is gonna do.
Yo, so it's honestly, I've gotten myself in holes like that before.
Somebody said something like, you know, you can use glasses, but glasses don't teach you how to read. That's literally like what it is to like take medicine.
Wow, facts. That's
in crazy. Reality, that fine line exists because you're still pushing yourself. It's just that chemically in your brain, because this is a neurological condition. It helps you, you know, like it makes things easier. And I know that for me, when I'm on it, like, and I don't use high dosages. All my thoughts are, huh?
because last time we spoke, you weren't really taking Adderall. So you only recently started taking Adderall, I feel like, right? Okay.
Yeah. And I microdose. So I don't take the 30 all at once. I'll take the like half of it. And then
Me too.
A few hours later, I'll put it on, right? And that works for me because I'm able to like literally like I'll start a task, finish. So something that I was not able to do before is helping me now, and it's something that's changed my workflow a lot, and it's helped me in terms of like, you know, I know that, for example, like with Adderall, like if you're not sleeping, if you're not eating appropriately, you're gonna get a lot of crazy side effects too. Like if you're
like what?
out, you know, if you're out like on this and you don't sleep, like you still have a body to take care of. Like even though you're on this, you still have to really make sure that you are still intaking your nutrients, you're drinking water all day, and that you are getting rest. Because if you're not, of course, you're gonna have like a panic attack. Well, I don't know about you, but like you're gonna get crazy like reactions.
No, I had a horrible panic attack in the last couple of weeks from Adderall. So yeah, no, that shit is real, 1000%. Mm-hmm. Someone mentioned in here binaural beats, which I've been using those to fall asleep and like manifest positive vibrations. But do you know anything about binaural beats in terms? Yeah, okay. So Sunword, educate us, because I would like to know about that. Because do you know what binaural beats are?
Are you talking to me? I just said no.
Oh, okay. I don't. It's a type of sound, music, vibration.
Oh, okay. So I do lo-fi beats. My bad.
Oh, okay. I think that might.
So to me, like in the nighttime or like when I'm trying to like either meditate or just rest, I'm really somebody that's very intentional about my space. I turn on candles, like I put lo-fi beats, or I put like really soft music. And it just helps me relax. But in terms of sleeping, light is like, for people like us, like light is our best friend and like our biggest enemy. I think like I purposely have like see-through curtains because I want that light to hit right in the morning. Like I need to wake up.
Yeah.
But then also like in the nighttime, it's important for you to stay away from your phone and any type of light in order to try to get rest or try to get some sleep. Because if we're on our phones and we're literally looking at things that stimulate our brains, which is normally visual images and all that, we're definitely going to stay up a later time.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. It's good to like be in, so I think with a good thing that you're teaching me is like being in tune with your body in that regard, because like I'm only learning that right now, like, because I guess I only really got diagnosed like, you know, a year or two before you, but I wasn't paying attention to my body. So like talking to you really helped me like get in tune with like, oh shit, this is why these things happen. So something I want to talk about is relationships, and like not just romantic relationships, but like relationship with your parents, with your friends, teachers, whatever. Just like how symptoms manifest.
I know you mentioned immigrant parents, and I think that's something that we had in common was kind of like them not understanding what it was. Like I know that personally for me, my dad was still in kind of like a denial phase, and he was like, but you weren't a hyperactive kid. Like he had that like
my brain was hyperactive though.
But yeah, well, first of all, like before we go ahead, you said you have ADD. You don't have ADHD, or is it?
I don't.
Like, do you have inattentive or you have combined?
I probably have combined because like I do get very like skittish, you know, like I have to like move my body sometimes. Biting my nails is like a big thing for me, or like biting my lip too. So I feel like that might be a
this a lot.
Yeah, what?
That's also part of my that I suck my lip.
Yeah, I do that too.
That's part of
exactly.
My anxiety
So but no, it's definitely more like my brain is racing a million miles a minute, and like I'll have 100. I realize that the reason why I'm successful in music videos is because it's short-term content. So it's like, okay, we only have to do a 3-minute video, as opposed to like, you know, I obviously want to get into making feature films, but like to write a feature film, you're not gonna see a result for like 3 years or something, right? And then like writing a feature film, that's like a year of your life. Whereas when I do these music videos, it's like, okay, one day of maybe like a week of writing, like the whole project will be like maximum a few months, right? And so it's easier for me to like contain that because like the focus is shorter term.
Yeah. I just asked for context because I wanted to know we were like, because it seems like we have the similar. I'm combined type, so I have inattentive and hyperactivity. And when my dad found out, he was just like, "But you weren't a hyperactive child," and it was just like, thank God I had my therapist session literally like a few days before that. And I had to stop him. Like, first of all, like, you're gaslighting my ass. And like, because he started talking about like, you know, pharmaceutical stuff and all that. And I know that a lot of people are into that, but it's just like, this is something that I've internalized for almost 20 years. Like, I literally navigated a space, and I say it out loud now because I had to cry it out for almost 3 months. You know, I felt slow, like, and as intelligent as people thought I was, or because I was outspoken sometimes, I really felt slow. I felt lazy, and I really didn't feel good enough in the things that I was doing because of me either masking my symptoms or like everything that was being told to me, right? So I had to tell him, like, you know, and multiple things can exist at once, because I ain't talking shit about my parents. Like, my parents did the best that they could with what they
Right,
had,
of course.
you know, and everything. But, you know, culturally, like, we hit our kids. You know, kids in Dominican culture normally get their ass whooped, all right? So my dad, like, and my mom literally raised me the way they were raised. And like, the way I was disciplined is I would get hit for literally almost anything. So what it did was that it really silenced me, and it really, any type of hyperactivity that I would even try to do, like, I automatically, there was a fear, you know? So I was raised in fear, and like, I knew better than to do anything, because I wouldn't want to get embarrassed in front of my cousins or like somebody, you know. I didn't want that embarrassment or humiliation, right? So I had to tell him that, and like, he stayed mad quiet because it was just like, he knew I was right. But it was a good moment to talk about it, because that I mean, that's another toxic conversation that we need to have.
I know, right?
But like, I was literally raised in that, you know, in fear, and like, that prohibited me and silenced me for a lot of years. And I had to talk about that. And something that Gata's actually on here, like, she brought it up, and like, I started really like thinking about it further, is that, you know, we grow up here in the States in a very individualistic culture, right? If you in college right now, please take interpersonal communication. We both took it. We both are in love with this textbook that we got to use. And it's really important to understand how our different cultures also really play a huge role with how we navigate these spaces and how it affects us. Here in the States, you know, it's a really individualistic culture. Like, we're really pushed to like follow our dreams, or like, you know, I did this and I did that, like, you know, like, I started from the bottom and I did this, and like, you know, it's all about
right.
pursuing yourself and pursuing your dreams. Whereas when you come from Latin America, like, we're coming from a collective culture, and we think collectively. So what you do always has to have like the family in mind, or like, you know, like, we're constantly thinking collectively. And one of the examples that I always kind of tend to like navigate towards is like, even having your grandparent in a nursing home. Like, it's very rare for you to see that in a Latin American household, because to us it's like, all right, our grandparents, our parents, like, they sacrifice so much for us, so we have to continue to do the same for them. And like, the cycle, right, it keeps going.
Yeah, my mom and I always talk about that, how it's
yeah,
crazy how people in America like will put their parents in nursing homes. Like, we cannot fathom that, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
how do you put your family in a nursing home? Like, I don't know. Anyways, that's a whole other topic, as you said. But
yeah, it is. But for women, like, we kind of mentioned how like we're extremely underdiagnosed, again, because of the stigma. Like, people think of like ADHD of, you know, a little kid like bouncing off the wall, and like, you know, not someone that's calm. Something that isn't really spoken about a lot is just the role of the woman in like collective cultures, you know. Like, people talk about like, oh, a lot of women mask their symptoms because of societal pressures. They're not gonna, you know, do this or that, and they develop, you know, high function anxiety because of their masking.
totally.
I feel like so much of our conversations don't touch on how our communities are affected by our cultures, and then also like medicine in general. Like, Black and brown communities have been abused by medicine. Like, you know, the development of the plan, the birth control pill literally had women, like, I forget the word, but they couldn't have women, like, babies
They were
anymore.
sterilized. They weren't able to
They
give birth after that,
sterilized.
right? Yeah.
And then you have so many Black communities of men who also, like, suffered at the hands of, like, you know, testings and stuff like that. So there is this huge mistrust in our communities with medicine already because of this. And then also just like the role of a woman in a lot of our communities, like when you think of the Latin community, like la mujer is like, she's the lead of the house. Like she cooks, she cleans, she prioritizes, she organizes, she plans. And when you have ADHD, you're not good at none of these things of like doing this on time, of like appropriately organizing and you know, following through with planning and doing things for the household. And I feel like that's a conversation that isn't had as much, but it's also like a mental health conversation that still haven't been hit.
So you were saying that women mask their symptoms. So like what would be like an example of a
like
woman masking your symptoms, and also like in a collective community like that, masking your symptoms too?
So masking is kind of like when you hide that you're feeling something or that you're dealing with something.
Right.
So I masked a lot of my troubles in high school and in college, and like, I don't know if people know, but it took me a long time to finish college. And I'm not like not mad about it. Like, I'm not ashamed to talk about it, because throughout those years, it was my early 20s and I experienced the world creatively, but I was struggling with school. And I think about it now, and I feel like if I would have been medicated, I would have finished in the 4 years that people normally do. But I think I was having so much trouble in classes that I just naturally knew, like, listen, I'm gonna just take 2 classes a semester, because this is what I can handle.
How long did it take you to finish?
Like 8 years.
8 years?
Yep.
Oh wow, so you like recently graduated then?
2 years ago, yeah. Well, it's 3 years ago almost now, because it's 2021. But I was in school for a really long time. And I remember the first thing my therapist told me when we were in our session, he was like, I just want to let you know, like, it was the end of our session. He was like, I forget the amount or the percentage of people with ADHD that don't finish college and drop out. But he was like, I just want to let you know that what you were able to do, a lot of people aren't able to do. Like, you were able to finish college without medicine, dealing with a lot of these symptoms, and you were able to still like achieve everything you had. And my last year of college, I literally did 2 years in 1 year, and like, I was close to cum laude, like, but I also like really fucked myself up really bad with anxiety and all that. But I remember that day when he told me that, it really made me think about like those years and how frustrating. But again, like, I'm learning to really appreciate my journey. And I think that if I would have finished earlier, I would have been in the industry in a different time. And I had a different mentality at that time. And I feel like I stepped into my career at the perfect time. I had a full awareness of who my identity was. And I didn't have to like hide it walking around. Like, I was walking into focused into like making sure that I was creating space for communities that are normally erased. So I feel like I am grateful for that time, even though it took me a long time.
Yeah, what you were saying, how like it's considered like a flaw in capitalist societies, because in capitalist societies we're taught to have like a specific timeline, and when you're living with ADHD, we're on our own timeline. Like, that's the biggest thing, is that like I even still get ostracized on set. People like, you don't have a sense of urgency, and I'm like, what do you mean? I'm trying to get this done as quickly as possible, but like, how do you want me to show you my sense of urgency? Do you like, because if I of urgency, it's gonna come out very frantic, and I don't want to have a frantic energy on set right now, you know what I mean? So yeah, I totally feel you on that, like in terms of like, you know, I'm proud of you because you did it, and it's true. Like, a lot of people never college with or without medicine. So you know what? You got it, baby.
Thank you.
But yeah, something that you really made me think about though is like stuff, and we just like kind of brushed on it, but then we stopped. Is in terms of like for me, for example, I know like I'm late a lot of the time because time management. I'll try so hard and I will still get somewhere 15 minutes late. You know what I mean? I have no sense of like, you know, not I don't think I have a sense of how long it takes to do things. Like you know, like even setting up for this live, like putting my ring light here, like my cameras on my computer right now, like all that probably takes like 5 minutes, but it's 5 minutes that I'm not accounting for, you know what I mean? And that just doesn't come easy for my brain. So it's like I've had friendships break up because they couldn't handle my lateness. Or they couldn't handle my like, can we just do 4:45 instead of 4? Like that no, bitch, you know what I mean? It's like obviously you don't have friends like that anyways that don't accept you for things like that, but it's like I didn't even realize that like, oh, that was a symptom of the reason why that friendship broke up was because of my ADHD. So like what other ways in which like relationships can be positively affected and negatively affected from ADHD?
Yeah, I mean, at least positively, I feel like because we're so empathetic and forgiving, like we're easier to see outside the box, which makes us. I don't know about you, but when I was younger, I was that girl that everybody used to call for advice, and I never had a boyfriend, but people would call me for relationship advice.
Yeah.
Like my friends would call me Dr. Jenny. Like I had no experience, but for some reason, well, I know the reason, but hello, because we're so the way our brain works, like we're thinking in so many ways at the same time. And I know sometimes my friends or my sisters will get frustrated because like I'll like throw in, but like, yeah, but have you thought about this person? Because I feel like my brain is thinking so many things at the same time. And I think that's what helps us also in our careers too, that we're thinking outside of the box and we're also thinking of the multiple realities that exist at the same time. So it really sometimes gives us the space to like really use our voice, to give advice sometimes, to soothe people. So that's why I feel like many of us do make great friends. And chronic lateness is something that really affects not just your friendships, but your relationships, your romantic relationships, and also things with your family. You know, I know that I've spoken. If y'all not on Reddit, please download Reddit. The ADHD like subreddits are super helpful, and also it makes you feel like extremely comfortable because I know that at least for me, it just feels like such a lonely experience when I'm not talking to either you or Gata or like other people, because if they're not in the creative field and they don't have this condition, it's really hard to like explain things and put in so much work to explain something when they might not still get it. But when you get on Reddit, like you can simply just put something that happened during your day, and then you'll have people literally reply like, oh, this happened to me once and this is how I cope with it. And yeah, and it's super helpful because it can feel lonely, but it's not lonely because there's so many of us out there, and like you can really build community out there. And it's definitely played a huge role with me in terms of like healing and getting better. But when it comes to like romantic relationships, not being attentive, chronic lateness, and just forgetfulness are three big things that really affect,
my God, yeah,
romantic relationships, because you know this can make your partner really feel like unwanted or not loved or like they're not enough, but then in that same turn, being told that we're not paying attention or that we're not trying hard enough, or that that we're not doing enough, makes us not feel good enough either. So it's really important to learn how to navigate those conversations with your partner, and it's really important to be honest about it. Like from the conversations that I've had, I'm still healing from a breakup, but I know that like in conversations with my therapist, I keep identifying certain situations about not different certain situations, but moments and conversations and acts that happened that manifested through that were manifestations of my symptoms. And it was just like mainly the inattentiveness, but also like I remember feeling for a really long time that I wasn't good enough, like that I wasn't trying enough, basically. And I think that with that, understanding that like you have a condition is really important. Like reminding yourself that this isn't your fault, that this is something that happens, like, is really important, because we end up beating ourselves like really badly about it. But also that it's also like our responsibility to create systems to voice that, you know, like our vulnerability, and be like, listen, like, I may not remember, please text me tomorrow and remind me, you know, like just asking for that assistance. Because I think that part of the masking of like hiding that you're struggling kind of creates too this like hyper independence of like, oh, I don't need no one's help, which ends up hurting us even more. So it's really learning to like create a system with your partner, and for your partner not to get this role of parenting, because nobody wants to feel like they're being like that someone's parenting them, you know, like nobody wants to feel like their partner is talking to them like they're a second grader. And for their partners to also learn how to like ask rather than tell, you know, like, oh, you know, make sure you take out the trash. It's better for you to say like, oh, can you please take out the trash at 7? Because wording really matters to people like us, you know.
I agree with that. What you were saying earlier, by the way, like, it's funny because whenever I do give someone advice, they're like, whether it's about romance or career or whatever, they're always like, I love your perspective. Your perspective is so different. And it's because,
Yeah.
like, because we're able to like look from every different angle. And it's like the amount of times I hear that is crazy, because I'm like, you only know your own brain, right? So like, I'm like, oh, really? Well, I'm glad I helped. Like, I'm just looking at it with my eyes, you know?
Yeah, and that's why I love talking to other people with ADHD. Like, I'll hit you up and I'll hit up Gata. Like, I know that when I talk to Gata, like, she's not afraid to tell me, like, yeah, I hear you. I hear you, but have you thought about this, you know? And I need people like you guys in this community, especially in our careers, because our careers are already toxic as it is and sporadic, and we love what we're doing. And thankfully, like, thank God, all three of us are embracing, in a sense, our ADHD, because we are naturally interest-based learners. People with ADHD really thrive in careers that they are fully passionate about and interested in.
Which
We
makes
just
sense
need to
why
add and
natives are.
incorporate systems that work for us. Like, we need to make sure that we are incorporating and putting ourselves, you know, putting our part in making sure that we're developing these symptoms. But we are in spaces that we're extremely passionate about, and that's what helps us thrive. And that's why your videos are so dope and out of this world. You know, because you're thinking out of the box, you're doing something that you love, and maybe, you know, you may not turn something in on time, or you may miss a deadline or something, but it still happens, you know, you still execute it.
Exactly.
And it's still
That's
amazing.
what I always say. I'm like, you got it. Better late than never.
Pero you got it. Yeah.
Yeah. You also talk about knowing your love language.
Oh, yes. So I think that's important too, because I mentioned earlier how sometimes people with most times people with ADHD feel like they're not doing enough for their partner, because their partner is not being loved in their language that they want to be loved in. But we are kind of ignoring signs. It seems like we're ignoring signs, when in reality we don't see those signs, or we're, you know, very distracted or inattentive to those signs. So honestly, understanding your love language and understanding your partner's love language is also really important in a relationship. So I've heard.
Totally. What's your love language?
So it's funny because I took the quiz twice. The first time it was physical touch, and the second time was quality time. So I'm thinking it's quality time because it was the second time I took it. And yeah,
I feel like I literally think everything in life's a spectrum, because it's like, I'm definitely physical touch, but I'm definitely words of affirmation also.
yeah.
I think, tell me that I'm beautiful and amazing and all the things. Like, please
tell me that you're proud of me. Tell me that I look
Tell
good.
me I'm amazing.
Tell me que yo soy tu mami.
Exactly. ¿Me entiende?
¿Me entiende?
So, also you talk about detoxing.
Mm-hmm.
That's really important for me, because, and how you were saying earlier that like you're very spatial, because I feel like yeah, like I have a lot of clutter all the time, like even right now. I mean, I would show you, but I don't want to show you.
Were you a
And like
messy kid growing up?
I'm vision boarding on the floor right now. Like, you know what? I'm a show because like it's cool to be vulnerable, right? Like, hold on, wait. I'm like moving my lap. Like, look, like I have like, you know, all this shit everywhere, right? And it's like, how can I work in a space like that? Like I need to finish the vision board before I could like do anything on my computer.
Yeah.
Because like there's just shit on my floor, you know? And so yeah, like organizing is super important for people with ADHD. I feel like because I feel like that's a big thing for me is not being organized due to the ADHD. Oh,
Yeah.
what is the difference between the H and the no H?
It's the hyperactivity. So honestly, what I'm hearing in the community is that ADD is more of like the outdated term, because now they kind of break it down to like subgroups in a sense. So like ADHD, primarily inattentive, PI, or primarily inattentive, hyperactive, or like combined. So they break it down that way. But when normally, like when people say ADD, it's because it's more of an inattentive type. So that's why I was asking more to understand like what was like your process in terms of getting diagnosed, and like what you were told, or like what your experience was like. But that's kind of like what I've heard in terms of like my research and what I've learned too. But I will say, because you spoke about like the messiness, part of like one of the biggest issues that my mom had with me was like my messiness. And you know that in a Latino household, like specifically Dominicans, like you clean every Saturday, you have to make sure your room is tip top. And I was a very messy kid growing up. Like I could never keep anything clean. Like, and it was crazy because it would look like a tornado went through my room, but I would low-key know where everything was. Like I low-key knew where everything was. But I think as I got older and I started hitting college, and my later years in college, I started to really create systems, because I really liked fashion. I liked interior design. I really wanted my room to look really nice. And I really started revolving around this sense of like, I want clarity in my room. I want clarity. Like if my room is organized, my mind is going to be organized. And it's crazy because now that I have ADHD, I'm starting to learn about a lot of like hacks and organizational like systems that you can create that can help you. And it almost like it came to me naturally without even knowing that I had it. So I painted my room white. I got see-through curtains. I would get containers for literally anything to split everything apart, make sure I have my hair stuff with my hair stuff, my makeup with my makeup.
Yeah.
Also in terms of clothing, like making sure everything was separated by the type of clothing, and then having an appropriate space for everything, for your keys, for your earrings. When I was living in New York, for my Metro Pass, and being very intentional with where these spaces were, because you would get it and put it right back. And that was the most important part for me, because you know, we're so forgetful that I needed to make sure that I had a space and a place for everything that I would never forget and that would keep me organized.
Yeah, that's my issue, is that I'm like, the putting it back is like what I'm working on right
So
now.
that's what I learned through an ADHD coach, that you have to commit to putting it back. So we have to be intentional of where it is.
I'm writing that down.
And to commit to putting it back. So it's like, if you feel like you revolve more around your kitchen or your sala or the side of your bed, have a key holder there, because you always know that the key holder's there and the key goes there and the key is always there as soon as you get there. As soon as you use something, like if it's your hair product or something, always making sure of putting it back, like really training yourself to really put it back. And like, there's days that I'm good at it, and there's days that, you know, I kind of get lazy with it, or just I can't do it. But that's something that's definitely like helped me.
Yeah, I would love to get your organizational hacks, because that's like a lifelong battle that ideally before I'm 30, I'm gonna be like organized, but it is like it's literally a struggle for me to be organized. So, but you're organized.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. What was that?
Like you got there.
The last thing you said you're organized. You
Like,
got there?
you got to this place of organization in your life, you feel?
In terms of my space, my mind, I'm still working on it. My mind is not organized. My finance isn't organized. There's a lot of things that
What
I
about
still have to work on.
and your phone, like your photos, your hard drives?
I just went through a time of like organizing right now, but they literally look sporadic a lot. Like they're normally like all these different files. I just a few days ago literally created different files for different projects for my drive, but it looked a hot ass mess.
Yeah, that's like literally something I'm working on. Like, hopefully, I don't want to go into 2021 without organizing stuff. So that is a thing. So do you have any I guess any tips for people going into 2021 with ADHD, like how we can live better?
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure that out of living better. But I mean, I could share what I've learned and what's helped for me. First of all, time management, timers, clocks, watches.
Right now, what is it? It's a time.
So this is a timer. And it's important to have a separate timer that's not your phone, because the thing is, we use our timers and our phones, but we still have our phones around us, and it's a huge distraction, especially if you're visually stimulated like me. I have to like turn off my phone and literally have it in a different floor of my house or something, because I can't.
This pandemic with my screen time, like,
oh girl, it's wild, but this helps me a lot. You could get it in Amazon. Just write timer or something, and there's 2 in a pack for $7. And normally, what I do is like I time myself for 15 minutes or 25 minutes. I normally start with 15, and I really try to get into a project, strictly work on those 15 minutes, and not pay attention to anything else, not browse, not look at my phone, not do anything. Just literally work on that project, even if you're not motivated for those 15 minutes. And it's a good way to start. And then what you do is you kind of take like a 5-10 minute break, and then you start again. And normally the second time I start is like a 25-minute. I'll start with the 25 minutes and then 5-10 minute break, and then it's just a cycle that keeps going. And you'll start realizing that it does help you, not only to keep you on task, but also it's a great way to realize how long you take creating and doing the things that you have to do. And I think that time management is literally something that really kind of hurts us a lot. Not kind of, it really hurts us a lot. So making sure how to like figure out how long we take doing things, and then realistically planning our days moving forward. Because I don't know about you, but my to-do list used to look like a huge ass list, and I would never get everything done because it was unrealistic. Like there were certain tasks that I knew I wouldn't be able to get done, and I would still try to crush it in a certain day. And I'm like, girl, you're behind because this is unrealistic. So making sure that you're narrowing down your to-do list to like 2 things that can take up some time, or maybe like 1 project a day. That's something that's helped me. And having clocks in your bathroom, timing yourself in the bathroom. I don't know about you.
Bathroom?
Yeah, a clock or a timer in the bathroom, because I don't know about you, but like once I'm in the shower and I'm literally lost. Like, it's just so soothing, the shower, and you start thinking and reflecting, and then
that's okay to have your me time in the shower.
Yeah, but not if it's in the morning and you got somewhere to be.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah, so just making sure that you have clocks in all places. You
know, I've heard that peeing a lot or like going to the bathroom a lot is like a symptom of anxiety. And
really, I also drink a lot of water, so maybe it's that too.
A lot of water could also be a symptom of like, oh, you're anxious, let me drink some water. You know, drink water.
That's crazy. I'm trying to see if I didn't think of anything else. I feel like some of the things that have helped me, we spoke throughout our conversation.
Something interesting to me too, you wrote constant access to timepieces. Yeah, because something I learned this year is that
Oh yeah.
we have a distorted awareness of time. Wow, that wording is so true. But which leads to chronic lateness, and that's so true. When you have a problem in one area of your life, it's usually a problem in all areas of your life. And so, like, for example, for me, like, yes, my number one issue in every single aspect of my life is time management. You know what I mean? So, like, yeah, I'm gonna buy this timer and ooh, I'm gonna hit
Yeah.
them.
And something that I heard,
What?
something that a coach mentioned was also like understanding the importance of transitions, of transitioning from one thing to another, especially with our brains. Like, for example, like if we have somewhere to be and it's a 30-minute drive, we have to also understand that we have to add the 5 minutes of us actually in the car before those 30 minutes, you know, turning the car on. If you're in a space where you kind of have to heat the car, you got to consider that too.
That's
But
what I was saying
also
before
making
about the
sure that
five.
we're adding,
Mhm.
yeah, and then making sure that we're adding 15 minutes of just like 15 minutes of us time, because we have the tendency of like not being able to find something that we need, of not being able to finish something or whatever. And those 15 minutes kind of gives us time to like regroup, find our keys, find the mask that we need, or whatever we have to bring with us. Because sometimes we're chronically late, and that's kind of like what makes us forget homeworks, assignments, or things that we need. I remember so many times I would forget things for certain projects back when I was doing journalism, like a tripod or something like that, something that was very important to the production. And it was really embarrassing. And it was because like I was rushing and not really thinking through like what I needed to make sure to get. It was just that I'm late, and I had to head out the door, you know.
So ever since you've heard of these things, have you been implementing them right away, or has it been like kind of like a seesaw?
The things that we've been talking about.
Yeah, like in terms of like understanding the transitions and like fixing your car
Yeah.
stuff. Like, do you think that it's like, you know, a one-time fix, or it's like no, you do backpedal and then you go back and like you just try to.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's something that has its days sometimes, but there it's really working hard to build that routine. Like, I think these past few days, because of the holidays, my mind's been a little ooh. Like even keeping up with emails haven't been like the way, like I haven't been even keeping up with emails the way I normally do.
I don't think
So I definitely feel that like it really depends on the day. But to me, like I've always felt like it was a constant struggle. Like I remember a few months ago, like telling a friend of mine, like I'm just tired of struggling, because I've always felt restless. Like, and it, again, that's part of one of just being ADHD, you know, just constantly feeling restless because of the hyperactivity in your brain, of constantly stuff that's going on in your head. And I've always felt like I've just always been struggling and restless. And like I remember telling my friend, like, yo, I don't want to feel this way no more. I want to feel like quote unquote normal. Like I want to chill. I want to just like, I want to be able to walk somewhere and not feel like impatient or like constantly thinking of like, oh shit, I got to do this, or like I forgot about this, or you know. So it's like I'm working really hard and really putting intention into like how I want to navigate. And I think that at least for us, I feel like what's really powerful and like what I admire from both of us is that we are very aware of how we work. And you are a freelance creator. Like you don't like, wait, do you, how do you work before I talk on my ass or
Oh,
something?
yeah, no, I have no structure whatsoever to any day of my life,
Yeah.
which is why I started. I mean, one of the reasons why I started this live show is to have a routine. So it's like every Tuesday, no matter what, I'm gonna have these conversations, you know? And in general, I've just like over the last few months tried to build more of a routine because yeah, it's very, nobody is out here. I don't have a boss. I'm my own boss. So I am in charge of disciplining myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, that becomes very overwhelming. And especially in the pandemic, I said I was going to do so many things in the pandemic that I didn't end up doing. But, you know, I ended up doing things like this show, which is amazing. So,
Yeah.
like, you know, some things don't happen because other things are meant to happen. So it's fine. But yeah, how I work is pretty much like, there's no rhyme or reason to how I work. Like, I come up with a schedule. I like more or less like, a yearly schedule, a monthly schedule. Okay, what am I gonna do for the week? What am I gonna do tomorrow? But what you said earlier about like, making unrealistic things. I guess what I do is I think that like more or less like weekly, I'll come up with like, okay, I have to get this done. I'll write on Monday's to-do list, Monday's planner. I'll write down like maybe 8 things, and then like by Friday, all those things will get done. So it's like kind of like I don't have like these 2 chunky things today. Although I'm changing that. I'm going, and especially with getting this timer thing, I think that's really going to help me. But I'm going to start trying to schedule myself. Like, I work very well in an academic setting in terms of like, during school, I had structure, like, 10 to 11:15 is science class. And then, 11:30, you're going to this class. And so I think I want to start doing that in my life now. Like, 9 to 10, you're going to work on this treatment. 11 to noon, you're going to write your book or whatever, So yeah, how do you work? And thank you, Sunward. I'm definitely going to hit you up after this to get those beats. Sunward Sai has been in here with us the entire time, and I'm going to get those sounds from you after this. Thanks for Anyways,
yeah.
How do you
I work by task. I mean, I think that like for me as a freelancer, like naturally, like we're always working task by task. Like we finish a project, we move forward with another. But normally, like I work from home. I've always, even before the like quarantine and the pandemic, I was already working from home. But I normally, like for me, it's kind of still a struggle because I tend to work almost all day, and sometimes during that day, like it's so hard to build that focus, that I end up hyper focusing in the nighttime and losing sleep and like
other stuff.
On work, on everything that I'm doing. So it's just like I'll hyper focus on writing and write for probably like 8 hours, rather than starting. But this was pre-medicine, so it was just like it was a more. I'm kind of telling you how I was working, which kind of led me to having like really bad anxiety. But now I'm trying to work more of like a 10 to like 6 p.m. frame. I know that this past month I've been like really trying to kill a lot of my projects, so I've been doing the most, but I'm really trying to work in a more of like a 10 to 6 p.m. frame. But moving forward, I don't mind trying the later time because I feel like the less distractions there are at night, the better that I work. Mm-hmm. So I am like still in a space of like trying to figure out what works best for me, because I feel like, especially in my house, because there's so many of us, I work better in the nighttime because I don't have to worry about like people screaming or making noise or like just the little things,
I think that time is a stigma too, like a social construct stigma, because it's like, a lot of, especially creatives, a lot of us do work better at 2:00 in the morning,
mm-hmm.
And that's okay. Like if 2 a.m. works better for you, then that's okay,
Yeah.
Like I know that for me, my brain doesn't really start turning on until 11 a.m. Like I can.
And it sucks because we may work better at that time, but I'm still, even though I'm a freelancer, I'm still working with corporations and platforms that are running from 10 to 5 p.m. time. So I have to be active during that time, which is why I'm still trying to figure it out.
Yeah. It's hard to, at least for me, because I just want to accomplish so much. And like when you want to accomplish so many things, it's hard to be like, okay, well, especially because I have these like long-term goals too. It's like, okay, well, I could accomplish this thing really quickly right now, or I could like put in the hours to accomplish this longer goal. But 2021, I'm gonna be working on it. Also, you didn't really say, like, have you found that medicine's helped you a lot?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, and it has. I kind of spoke about it earlier. I don't think I'm having such a bad problem with it because I'm not like taking a lot of it, but I feel that I really get all my. What happened?
You said you take 15 milligrams and then you like a few hours later take another 15, right? Yeah, that's
what I'll microdose and then like I work on my projects. Okay. I think the one time I felt weird, and it's kind of like that crashing sense, almost like when you drink a lot of coffee that you kind of start shaking in a sense, like internally shaking. I don't know if you ever felt that.
Oh yeah.
It was when I took the 30, and like again, if you're not on top of like eating or like your sleep, you're gonna get these crazy reactions with your body. And like I remember feeling that way, and then I just started to plan out how I was gonna, move forward, like making sure that I'm at least getting 8 hours of sleep, or trying to like sleep enough. But I it works good for me. I haven't had anything like any bad problems.
Yeah, honestly, it really does help a lot. It's just a little scary because like we are more or less like the first generation to take it. I feel like it's a new medicine, So I do want to look more into natural things. Like I know like there's like chaga mushroom or something, not a psychedelic mushroom, just a chaga mushroom. I get a lot. Do you get a lot of ads on your Instagram for like Oh, I get so many targeted ads for ADHD stuff. Like,
That happens to me on YouTube because of my like intense research space. But yeah, I mean, again, like everybody moves differently with what works best for them. I feel like
yes, I need ashwagandha. Yeah. Yo, Sunward, I want to get Sunward in the shop because Sunward be knowing all the things we need. Yeah, I used to smoke ashwagandha, but like I didn't know that it helps with focus. That's good to know. Yeah, it's just Adderall is so strong and powerful. It's like the limit. You've seen the movie Limitless, right?
Yeah.
Like it's so strong and powerful, like Limitless, that it's like hard to go back to these like.
It's also important to take breaks, and I use it every day. I mean, I don't know how do you take breaks, and okay.
Yeah,
because you said
yeah. Like, did you take any today?
No.
Yeah, I never take it on my live because I get weird like socially. I feel like when I take Adderall. So like if I have a live, I won't take Adderall that day because I don't know. Have you noticed that at all with you, or like I guess you wouldn't notice it.
No, girl. Because my thoughts be organized. I be hitting up my point.
No, you wouldn't notice it. People around you might notice it. No, it's not about. It's because for me at least, my thoughts become so. I'm just so to the point that I'm a bitch. I guess. I'm just very cold. Adderall where they're like, you took out. My ex could tell right away, within 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Like, what did
I don't know. I mean, you should definitely check out Reddit, girl. I don't know if you haven't checked out Reddit. You should definitely check out Reddit. Like, definitely ask your questions, because you'll quickly realize that everyone has a different experience on it. I haven't had anything bad so far. Also, like, people haven't noticed until I tell them. Like, people still think that it's like if I don't tell them, they wouldn't realize, basically. Like, I'm still kind of like the regular Jenny in a sense.
I also I get like because I'm so out there and like da 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 da. If I'm on Adderall, sometimes I'm out there da da in my head. Like I like don't want to say as much, you know what I mean? Like yes, it's like my thoughts come out more like as opposed to like,
yeah, girl, then definitely look what works best for you. I just know that I know a plethora of people that it works well for them, and like they may not have these symptoms. So I think it's definitely like doing your research and figuring out something that works better for you too.
Yeah,
because it's also like
great for me.
Something that I realized too is like if you like maybe I'm not sure like where your ADHD kind of falls in, but if you have more of like a mild case and you can actually just do exercise and do like try the different things that you want to like try out and it works, and that's cool too, you know.
It's hard to tell. Like, where do you think you are on the scale?
I know that for me, I forget what they told me shit, but it's really intense. Because I have like chronic. My shit is chronic, girl.
I think my shit is chronic too. What do you mean? Like, would it always be chronic?
I mean, it's like I don't know how to explain it. It's just it depends on how much it happens to you, like how mild it is, or like
I live with it every single day.
No, I'm not saying that it doesn't exist. I'm not saying that you don't experience it every single day. It's the intensity and how you experience it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like a different, people experience it in different intensities. Like, yeah, some people may forget things, but there's some people who like literally chronically are forgetful, or like their executive dysfunction. Like, some women have been able to develop symptoms so good that they have been able to like work around their executive dysfunction because their ADHD is more mild. So it's not saying that you don't have ADHD and that there's days that you don't have it. It's just that it's a different intense level.
I'm definitely chronically late and chronically disorganized. Like I'm chronically in a state of clutter. Like even if I try not to be, like I will reorganize my inside of my desks and my closet and everything, like I don't know, every few months, but it's like after a week or two it'll be shitty again. You know what I mean? So like I think that I'm pretty, even talking to you, I think that I'm pretty like a 7.
Yeah, I definitely feel like, and I want to encourage you to like try out, like, I don't know, I know that you said that, do you have a psychiatrist, right?
Yeah, like the that I would get my Adderall from. I have a therapist.
Yeah. So making sure to like try to create sessions with a therapist. Like, I feel like some treatments are good. Like my treatment that I've created that works for me is that therapy and obviously medicine, but then also like looking out ADHD career coaches. That is really helpful. And I think that having honest conversations about what medicine is making you feel like, because the thing is, I'm not a specialist, girl. I'm not a specialist,
I know.
and like, you know, like we can't trust everything everyone else says sometimes. But it's like we can question medicine, we can question everybody, but like it really comes down to like researching and figuring out what works best for your body and for you. Because again, like we're all in different spectrums, and something that could work for me may not work for you. And also like having those conversations with your therapist and your psychiatrist and being able to advocate for yourself, like, listen, this isn't making me feel good, really plays a huge role with how you navigate taking medicine. Yeah.
Well, thank you for all the wisdom and for being
girl,
incredible.
I'm still learning. Anything you guys know, please DM me. Anybody that has ADHD here.
Same. Somewhere we're gonna be talking. Okay. Well, talk to you soon, beautiful.
Bye, girl.
Bye, beautiful. Mwah.